comparison to how many things we're able to see and know, there are numerous examples that remind us that the world doesn't really stop once we aren't looking at it. Many things may even be hidden in plain sight, but may refuse to reveal themselves due to our presence. This is where hidden cameras have been known to lend us a hand. Through the footage that they have provided, we have been given a window into many unbelievable things we otherwise wouldn't be aware of. Today, we take a look at some of these cases where a hidden camera has captured something no one would believe. The Loneliest Man Alive. After living his best life in the Amazon forest doing his own thing, this man was caught on camera revealing his interesting story. The title of this story could be The Loneliest Man Alive, as he ended up being called. This man has been living alone for the past 20 years, which is what has earned him such a title. Considering how segregated he is, it's unsurprising that he isn't the most talkative person. This is why his name is not even known. Instead, he is associated with descriptions and titles such as the Man of the Hole, which we will explain soon enough, or the last of his tribe. A somewhat saddening story behind this last title he was given comes from his origin as a member of an indigenous tribe. As the description suggests, he may be the last of his tribe, and everyone he knew and lived with is long gone. In part, the reason that this man would be challenging to include in modern society comes from his language, which isn't even spoken by tribes that live nearby or occasionally have a chance to stumble upon him. Even though these friendly neighbors respect him and show care, they cannot communicate. This suggests that this man may be the last speaker of his tribe's language. Considering it exists only in a region called Rondonia, it may soon go extinct. Unfortunately, since we don't have a translator who can communicate with this last tribe member, we can't find out about his tribe and history directly from him. Still, it is hypothesized that they were a nomad tribe living in the area that through time was affected by industrial works and modern society to the extent that their previous lives as constantly moving nomads weren't possible anymore. Our survivor, however, seems to have picked up all of the knowledge and skills from his tribe's history. He is found to be quite crafty regarding providing himself with animal and plant-based food, creating shelters, and using tools such as torches. Moving on to his other title, the Man of the Hole, things get somewhat more mystical as no explanation is found concerning these 6-foot or nearly 2-meter deep holes that he leaves all around the area he moves through. One of the best guesses is that these are used as traps for catching meaty meals or as some part of traditional, cultural, or religious symbols. The secrets and the mystery of these tribesmen may leave the world with him. Protecting his way of life and peace, he refuses and doesn't even tolerate much contact. As a confirmation, he sent a firm arrow shot to the leg of someone who tried to contact him directly in 2004. Cats get a visit from a ghost. We can easily see how such a lonely life, even though supported by tribal heritage and various skills, may be quite scary. However, as we will now see, there are various types of scary that hidden cameras have uncovered and laid bare in front of us. A homeowner in this story is what we would call a cat mom. She has 2 beautiful kittens, and she has gone to great lengths to keep them safe and always in her care. As a part of this effort to always provide her kitties with the best attention, she has installed house cameras to keep a close eye on their behavior and potentially catch them off guard doing hilarious stunts. As she left for a few nights from her home, she naturally left the cameras on. When she returned, she noticed a strange behavioral change in her pets and decided to see whether something happened. As we will see, cats certainly had something to be disturbed about. We all know that cats may be prone to overreacting, often faking ghosts and staring them down. This cat, however, seems to be on high alert. She is literally standing on her back legs, trying to be as aware of the situation as possible. The other cat seems to move around, and the clip ends when the camera is pushed directly towards the wall. This is exactly how the homeowner found the camera once she got back home. If we look somewhat closer at the footage, right before the second cat walks in and the door and gets locked in, we can see strange and unexplained shadows moving across the other room. The homeowner knows that her sister has access to her home, as she was left with an obligation to visit the cats occasionally. However, as she later found out in the moments that this footage was caught, she wasn't even near the house. To make everything even more suspicious, we should call upon the fact that cats are true predators. Their sharp senses of smell and hearing make them some of the most challenging creatures to hide from or sneak up on. Once we add to this what's essentially a nature's night vision that their eyes are capable of, we realize another horrifying aspect of this video. If it were a person or something material, we suspect that this other cat would be able to recognize it and react differently. Instead, the cat just walks in as the door closes behind her and the camera gets smashed against the wall. Once the homeowner returned and found her cat disturbed, even though they were unharmed, she was left with many questions dead. Thanks to the hidden camera, we all can now wander about. Glass shattering for no reason. We have seen even cats face nightmarish experiences that affect their behavior, but people aren't any more fortunate either. Unexpected misfortunes occur on many occasions and settings. They can strike quite randomly and can easily ruin our mood and our friendships, or even get us fired. These two share the burden and care of this large glass window. We can see the extreme care and all the steps they take to ensure it arrives in one piece at the planned destination. However, as soon as this guy is left in its care, it shatters, leaving him feeling dumb. It is especially tough when something you do with others shatters as soon as you are left in its care. It leaves us with no explanation, and as we can see in this unfortunate event, empty-handed and with a lot of cleaning jobs left to do. Foxes on a trampoline. Setting the course for less unfortunate events, hidden cameras don't bring us just bad luck occurrences. Instead, they sometimes enable us to see the behavior that people and animals wouldn't usually show if they knew they were being filmed. It's tough to imagine there being a person, be it a child or a grown-up, who doesn't enjoy at least the idea of having a backyard trampoline. This lucky household seems to have grasped such a dream. Placing a hidden camera to keep their bundle of joy safe in their backyard, this family catches an astonishing video showing nature's curiosity. At first, the trampoline was left out in the open, where it seemed to have drawn the attention of a very curious fox. As it pulls through the cage that surrounds the trampoline, we can see that it has experienced a different kind of thrill. The other fox pointed her attention toward other toys present in the backyard as well, including a slide we would all love to see this fox try and use. However, the trampoline will have to suffice, as one of the foxes has developed a taste for it and merrily returns to the playground, bringing friends. As we see a few days later, it is quite early in the morning, and there are no humans to bother a fox or spoil its fun. Using this opportunity, it enjoys living its best life. Discovering the changes made to the trampoline, examines this weird round object. As the fox humps upon it to see what's up there, it discovers the memorable flexibility of a trampoline. It recognizes that it is more about the footwork than about the actual view from up there. As it sticks around enjoying this puzzling but amazing sense, the other fox joins in on the fun this time. As they jump around the trampoline, they keep trying to understand what this magnificent, bendy type of ground is. Bear on a bird feeder. Moving on, we will see that not only foxes are known to exert curiosity, they are also not the only animal that enjoys man-made objects. For instance, as Winnie the Pooh may have shown us, bears are well known to use honey that people have skillfully gathered in manufactured beehives. However, when this sweet and tasty treat isn't around, bird feed may do as well. In this forest, a couple of locals have put up bird feeders to enrich their surroundings with the beautiful songs of birds. Soon, they will discover that simply calling something birdseed doesn't make it a draw-out only birds. Instead, they get a visit from a much larger creature, the one that is also known for having some taste for humans. As spring nears, and the bear awakes from his hibernation, he seems hungry for a snack. The only challenge is that it's quite high up, on a thread, spreading between two trees. It seems this bear had quite a strong craving, as it did not stop him from climbing the tree, reaching the thread, and after shortly testing whether it would take his weight, he finds his way to the bird feed, Mission Impossible style. Sleepy forklift driver. We have by now seen that hidden cameras can be used not just for our protection, but also to protect our property and shed light on what occurs in the workplace. Sometimes, hidden cameras may also be needed to protect the goods from ourselves. This tired forklift driver seems to have fallen asleep during his shift. Who could blame him after driving through such a maze of repetitive shapes and halls? As he loses his focus for a second and dozes off, the trajectory of his ride changes, and he smashes his forklift directly into a wall of product. Fortunately for him, the collision, although not too strong, wakes him up just in time for him to get off and escape to safety before plenty of weight falls from the shelves and covers the forklift entirely. The damage, as the domino effect would have it, keeps on going, destroying even the shelves themselves. Our now widely awake forklift driver is left only with an option to observe the damage and be thankful he isn't buried underneath a heavy pile. Non-existing new coworker. Mishaps at the workplace are sometimes a result of human error. We take some consolation in the fact that those that do work do make mistakes. However, who is to blame when the one who made the mistake is a young newcomer? In the following footage, we see that things can be even worse when this young new colleague may be a ghost. This security guard has received a visit from a fellow who he understood was to be his new colleague. In this line of work, vigilance is extremely respected, and one has to hone his observation skills to the maximum. Accordingly, the security guard approached the situation quite responsibly. As it happens, even those doing the observations for security measurements are observed themselves. Thanks to that footage, we see him welcoming this imaginary guest. The only trouble is that he seems to be the only one who has actually seen the fellow. After welcoming this person in, the security guard acknowledges their entrance and welcomes them. Finishing a short chat and even giving him a fist bump, he pulls up a chair, leaving space for our invisible guest to have a seat as he shows him the ropes. We can see that the unsuspecting guard is actually quite a friendly fellow anyone would love to have as a colleague. The only issue is that he does not know the person in front of him is a specter. After a short, friendly discussion, he starts showing him the details of the work. The only reason that the company realized that something was happening and even checked the footage of the security guard's workplace was because a few days later he was asking around where the new colleague was, the one whom he had introduced to the workplace. The new employee, however, hasn't been seen or heard about by anyone in the company. If we look at the footage, one could suspect that not even the security guard has seen him. However, if we look closely, we notice very weird changes in the shadows below the worker. This happens the most clearly after he offers him a chair. We see a shadow move towards that place, sending chills down our spines. A spy monkey camera shatters the tribe's hearts. As we are recovering from the scary scenes and the realization we have had during the previous video, let's move on to another set of emotions. We have now considered many things hidden cameras can show us about what's happening when no one is looking. Those who are researching animal behavior in a more serious or even scientific manner have taken the hidden camera game to another level. As we will soon see, a hidden camera doesn't have to be just the one hidden in plain sight. Instead, it can even have the role of an imposter. Animal researchers have found themselves using various animal-looking hidden cameras and planting these within animal communities to observe how they react in hopes of catching their spontaneous behavior unaffected by the presence of a camera. In this case, wildlife explorers decided to create a spy camera that looks, and to an extent, behaves like a baby monkey. Even though it has taken a while for the monkey troop to accept this seemingly suspicious new member, they got used to it being around as time went by. Besides the general curiosity and wonder about this new member, one monkey even decides to be the hidden camera's mother and babysits it. However, as soon as she tries to grab a hold of her new baby, she realizes that something is terribly wrong. The movement of the hidden camera isn't natural or dynamic enough for her to believe that this infant is alive. Such a realization shoots through her so fast that she loses her grasp as a human might have once been struck by similar tough emotions. Instead of hope, her heart gets broken as she realizes that the baby monkey is deceased. The researchers didn't plan to cause drama in the monkey community, but in the end, they did create a situation in which our primate lookalikes show an important trait that connects us to the animal world. They show empathy and group cohesion as they gather around, mourning their new member who quickly grabbed their hearts. Strong emotions circulate through the group as we see them hugging each other and coping with the fake reality imposed on them. Delivery service that doesn't deliver. Similar to how the monkey community doesn't enjoy having their emotions toyed with, we humans also prefer staying undisturbed. One very common frustration has to do with delivery service. In a fast-paced world where ordering things online has become the new going to the store, delivery service has become quite common in our lives. As such, it is a frequent experience, and we hate any hiccups in the process. This next video shows that a late delivery is even better than a fake one. We know that deliveries left on the porch or in front of our door are a target of many robbers. The phenomenon has become so common that even the term porch pirates has been coined and established in our natural language. But maybe an even greater type of backstabbing comes from those we trust to deliver the actual package or goods. In this concrete example, we will see how a slight switcheroo of the steps that a typical delivery includes can enrage us. This courier has developed a dangerous habit of stealing what she's supposed to leave on the porch for the enjoyment of those waiting on it. To achieve this seemingly smooth act, she resorted to taking a picture to fake the confirmation that the delivery was completed. To do so, she even uploaded pictures, going so far as to provide evidence of the product being in front of the door, but also recreating the idea that she took multiple pictures as she was walking towards the door and getting near. Once the confirmation is taken care of, the courier decides to stick to the delivery and treat herself to the tasty goods. Luckily, this hidden camera has stopped a very confusing complaint call with the delivery service. When it is meant to be, it shall be. We can think how unlucky those waiting for their orders must feel as they realize that they will not find their way to them. Misfortune may sometimes feel quite decisive, and when it strikes, it doesn't give up. On this rainy day, this woman was simply backing up into her parking space. However, Misfortune wasn't going to let this go undisturbed. At this exact moment, a nearby tree fell, doing heavy damage to her fence and barely missing the car. Indeed, at this moment, the woman must have thought how lucky she was to avoid being hit directly. But this must have lasted for a split second, as she noticed a power cable on her car. Pulled down by the falling tree, it has fallen directly over it. From her house, a man runs to help, seeing what has happened. He tries to pull the woman out of the car and into safety, away from electricity-filled cables. However, as soon as she exits the car, we see that she doesn't have the time to pull the handbrake and the car starts moving back. Even though his reaction was swift and he tried to save it decisively, the man wasn't on time, and the car backed up right into a van parked next to it. We can recognize the amazing composure of this champion from how unfazed he was, so much so that he didn't even let go of the cigarette in his mouth. The dog goes for a ride. We have seen that even when a human is riding a car, it doesn't necessarily mean that everything and everyone is safe. Imagine the result if the creature driving a vehicle didn't even have fists. This camera filming a backyard has caught sight of a weird occurrence. The dog's curiosity for the golf cart has made it get close and somehow get it started. As one could imagine, this could either turn into a weird car chase, or the golf cart could just circle around and slam directly into the parked car nearby. What's worse, the dog seems to have pulled a hit and run as we see him unfazed and leaving the crime scene. A figure vanishes into thin air. Even though the mischief dog from the previous video was quite transparent about his actions, he isn't as transparent as the object of the following video. A camera that this time faces the front of the house caught a scary moment unexplainable by logic. As we see a figure walking by, we notice that not much can be identified besides it being blurry and carrying something. No effort invested in identifying the man was successful. While this being is walking by, we realize it looks less and less like an ordinary pedestrian going on his way. Suddenly, starting from its head, it becomes less and less clear or visible. Moving further away, we realize it's not just our eyes that are betraying us, but we have a video of something or someone that can apparently lower their transparency at will. As far as we are concerned, this is not how people typically behave when taking a stroll. There is one very important detail that you may have missed that could shed some light on how seriously we should consider this video. If we focus, we can notice that all the while we are watching what this hidden camera has caught, there are no video quality issues. Specifically, throughout its whole stroll, we can notice in much detail both the surroundings of this figure and the bugs that fly by. The only mystery we are left with is this being that can turn invisible at will. The store clerk has a supernatural helper. Whenever supernatural forces are involved, we immediately assume they are bad things. These prejudices could make us think of them as unfortunate. It shouldn't be impossible to imagine some sort of friendly ghost who turns out to be our little helper, especially as we are doing long and uneventful shifts. This video is of a clerk trying not to lose her mind to boredom, sitting on the counter of a store filled with various types of swords and daggers. Can one really be surprised that if there were a ghost, he would decide to visit such a place? However, this supernatural being doesn't seem to be harmful. Instead, it is doing its best to be of use by opening drawers. As soon as she sees this, the clerk looks directly at the camera. We can imagine all the thoughts that went through her mind. Realizing what occurred, Chex wanted a firm reality check and a video proof that it wasn't just her mind playing tricks. Realistically, no one would have believed her if this wasn't caught on camera. Ghost decides to rearrange the house. By now, we have had a chance to look into various unexplained occurrences that were caught by a hidden camera. Our final video of today may be the one most clearly showing what appears to be an invisible being. Left in an empty home, we see it moving through the house and thrashing it by throwing things around. The homeowners, in this case, have installed cameras in various rooms, providing us with a wider perspective of what was happening. The most horrifying element of the video that we are about to see is how realistic the movement of this ghost is. It follows a meaningful path throughout the house as it is throwing stuff around. The whole thing started in the living room, with the ghost first pushing off an element from a shelf next to the door. If we try to imagine someone moving at this moment, they would be crossing over toward the shelf below the TV. Further, if we allow ourselves to imagine, it would probably use its left hand to push over the plant pot onto the ground. Immediately after, we see what appears to be a phone flying to the ground. The ghost strikes it down with a significant force, and we see a cable connecting it to the behind the TV. After this occasion, the being seems to have moved to the kitchen. In there, by opening the shelf, it gains access to all the cutlery and then resorts to throwing it around and trashing everything. Besides the alarming sound of metal falling, the scariest aspect of what we see here comes from the speed and strength with which these knives and forks are flying by. This is especially disturbing as we consider there could be a target on the other side. As it finishes rampaging through the kitchen, the invisible thing seems to leave. This list's journey has been quite bumpy. The hidden camera footage has provided us with many unusual occasions and unexplainable situations. We recognized that these devices can offer us a window through which to peek into many secrets and types of behaviors that we wouldn't normally see if we were present. This may leave us wondering what other scary, funny, or straight-out weird things are occurring constantly when no one is looking. If we keep our eyes wide open, we may find out even more about what's going on around us. If not in that way, then we can always rely on unnoticeable little helpers who brought us these amazing shots.